Accessory cord or webbing wrapped around trees or rocks in the wild used as rappel or belay stations is often called tat. And we're going to explore in this episode how bad is too bad. Now, in this case, we have a low angle alpine trad. It doesn't necessarily make sense to have bolts, even though it would be pretty nice to have them right there on the face. I'm just saying. But this is super good enough, and it's been done this way a long time, so not trying to kick that cat right now. What I want to kick the cat is, what happens is you end up adding and adding and adding. I have extra slings on me, and if I didn't feel like this was safe, I would add some of my own, leaving this here because redundancy. Well, eventually you have 10 different slings that now all look like crap, wrapped around nature. And so we want to explore how bad is too bad, and maybe talk about, you know, putting something decent on there and removing the old stuff. Let's start with how bad is too bad. This is some pretty crunchy webbing, and we'll get to that in a minute, but I want to talk about a double fatality that happened because of this situation. This information is coming from Climbing Magazine from an article written by Dwayne Raleigh, where two climbers got rained off of their climb and had to bail, and when they bailed off of a tree that had a sling around it, and that sling broke. And they fell several hundred feet, and they both died. Now, climbing accidents happen, but this, I think, is more shocking to the community and sucks even more so because they did nothing wrong. Most of the time, it's user error and not the gear breaking. And it's not the gear they had. They had the good gear. They were using it right. It's just this single sling around this tree was sun crusted and old and snapped under the weight of just their body weight. After they pull tested it, they saw that the webbing color was actually green, and that's how much the sun bleached it over an unknown amount of time to where it now looked white. And even earlier that year at Joshua Tree, not too far away, somebody also died from pretty much the exact same issue. So the question is, would you trust this if you showed up to this anchor if you were to go down a canyon, for example? Now, climbing slings will lose strength over time from UV degradation, but a canyon will lose strength over time because it gets beat by the flow during high flood season. Ooh, so just add some extra slings, it'll be fine. Yes, please don't rappel on one old sling you don't know the history of. But do you need more than 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Like, that's where it becomes more of an environmental issue and ugly, and it's chunks of garbage in our climbing environments, but also our waterways. I just watched a video from Cold Fusion that talked about microplastics, and I was like, oh wow, that's really relevant to putting our plastic in a river. I think 2 well-placed stainless steel bolts are significantly less impact than a whole bunch of this. And so on the Lost Arrow Spire, which is what I'm holding here, this was a pile of garbage on top of the Lost Arrow Spire until we put chains and rappel rings on the bolts that we put up there. So it's very simple and clean looking instead of this. And then you're scared while you rappel off of it, Tarzaning into the wall during the Tyrolean. I'm gonna kick this horse as I go by. Don't unlink bolts in a canyon, because during high flood season, debris can come down, catch that linked anchor now, and rip it out of the wall, making it difficult to make safe again without just adding more holes. And you don't need them equalized. There are not blocking methods, and it's safe. It's still redundant, but you can go check that out in our canyon course. Now, this episode is more about how strong this is than the environmental impact. So we're going to break these slings from Synaptic Synergy, who got them off of the first and second rappels off the end of Sawtooth Canyon near the Northwash Dirty Devil River. Something fascinating about this orange and white webbing is it is the same piece. This has turned white from the sun. And so we are going to test the part that has not faded out to the part that has. Let's find out how much it lost. So it did not break in the knot, it broke where it was against the carabiner. Whoa, that was really bad. Again, it did not break in the knot. It broke right there. What's wild is that spray in the slow motion is plastic flying everywhere. The webbing that broke in the accident, they did a brake test on, it was 3.56, and this is in the same ballpark. Anything over 4.4 kilonewtons is 1,000 pounds of force, but that's just one single slow pull. Like if you're using it or it's rubbing, it's like I would declare that not safe. All right, the next samples we're doing are these two pieces. Oh wait, it's the same one again. One that still has some color in it is really stiff. I would hesitate to use a nylon product that did this. Okay, this one broke in the knot here, and it was stronger than I thought it was going to be. Let's see how much lower the discolored one is. Oh, it started breaking at 3. This one broke where it was around the carabiner. So this broke at the same force as the one that was in that accident. But wait, there's more. I got an entire box of tat from the gunks that we're going to test now. Trad Silva sent this in and said, I'm proud to call the gunks my home crag. It's an amazing multi-pitch trad that has an outstanding community. A few bolts you'll find are maintained by the Preserve as wrap stations. That said, many classic lines rely on community anchors, generally slings on trees or fixed gear. No one in particular is responsible for them, and so they have a tendency to get more and more material added over time. I've been trying to give back by removing nests of tat and replacing them with tidy bomber anchors. I'm curious about how good some of the removed material is. Let's just start with this one. That is a rat's nest. So we're just gonna take this old crunchy one out and see how it does. Wow, it was 10. Ooh, that's nasty. And breaking the knot, it broke where it was against the carabiner. Number 2 is Lonely Challenge. This is cord. We're gonna find out how strong cord is. Wow!
It broke in the knot.
It looked like this broke in the knot, and I believe this is actually a Technora core. And up next, we have Davy Jones here. Let's start with the yellow one. Oh, God. That's so good. That is super weird how it filleted open. Isn't it neat how plastic just degrades? Now the next thing out of Davy Jones' locker here is gonna be this piece. Oh, that was lower. That broke more like I normally see, which is against the carabiner. So what I wanna know is how strong the actual rappel rings are.
That's so cool. Look at spinning
Wow.
around this one as it goes.
That's how chain links are made. So these are just rolled aluminum, and they are stronger than I was expecting. So I think what bothers me so much about this is how much of it there is. I don't want anybody to rappel on something that's sketchy, and I definitely think having more than one is essential because that's where the accidents are happening when there is only one. But if you were to replace some of this, it'd be nice if you took out the grossest looking piece, which would probably be that, and throw it in your bag or tie it off to you so it doesn't turn into this massive wad of garbage. Now, I would like to emphasize that 2 well-placed bolts I think has less impact. Grabbing, climbing, caving, and canyon gear at hownoto.store supports what we're doing here, and if you would please sign up for the emails, that is a great way to directly communicate with you as my audience with a whole bunch of things that we got coming out since we post so much now. If you do want to go check out what we did at the Lost Arrow Spire, you can go check out that video next. And we kind of show the whole process, which I think is very interesting. But then again, I'm a nerd. See you later.